This episode of TGR Chronicles has been brought to you by Bethesda Studios, who sped things up with an update that nuked my mod list. Alright, welcome back to TGR Chronicles for the second episode. As a quick reminder, this series is covering the details and lore of the roleplay in the server associated with this channel. This video in particular is covering the Republic Commando known as Storm, and the beginning adventures of the 415th Exploration Battalion. The next release that covers the next section of the battalion's adventures will focus on a different character, and so on and so forth. But yeah, this one is focusing on Storm in particular. The things presented in this video should be taken as fanon, though we do take elements, facts, and lore from actual Star Wars canon, which is of course owned by Lucasfilm Limited LLC. And there's your disclaimer for the day. Before we begin, I actually wanted to give some real life background to the 415th, given they're not an actual lore-based unit, and that should be highlighted. So, back in April of 2020, this guy on Reddit called GloopySoup started making these comics called Day Troopin', and he would upload them to prequel memes, and they would follow clones Fordo and Boss as they hung out at a bar. About halfway through this, the creator of this comic joined the Day Troopin' fan-made Discord server, and the people on there began a creative project known as Daybreak. This story followed the adventures of the 415th Battalion, in an area known as the Unknown Regions. It was super cool stuff, as someone who got to witness some of their design process while it was still around. Eventually, this server partnered up with our server, and we officially inducted the 415th into our official roleplay, lore, and setup. Anyway, let us commence forth. So, before we can cover Storm, I should probably cover the Republic Commandos, for those who aren't in the know. During the process for making the clones, Jango Fett devised a Special Forces division for the Grand Army of the Republic. Following that, the Kaminoans showed serious interest in creating new clone trooper strains to make the ultimate special forces for the program. This would result in two separate batches of special clone forces, called the Nulls and the Alphas, but we'll brush over them for now. The third batch were the Republic Commandos. These clones would be separated into squads, or rather pods, to reflect the Iowa hunting pods of Kamino, and would be independent, but more conditioned than their predecessors. 100 elite mercenaries, most Mandalorian but some not, were brought in by Jango to train these commandos, known as the Koi Valdar. One of these pods was known as Zeta Squad, consisting of 4 commandos, Fuse, Botboy, Goose, and of course, RC-5704, Storm. Storm was elected to be the sergeant, while Fuse, Botboy, and Goose were the demo expert, technician, and sniper respectively. Their Kolvaidar was Ratus Ratus, known for being a mouseish man. Storm was a fun-loving clone. He often found himself cracking wise with a lax personality, and by all means this should have ruled him out of the sergeant position, but his command over the rest of the squad was unparalleled, and he still showed the regular conditioning signs the other commandos showed. And after the Battle of Geonosis, Zeta were assigned to the 415th Exploration Battalion. But who actually were the 415th? And why did the Republic decide they needed an exploration battalion in the first place? The 415th were a group designed for discovery, be that the discovery of new worlds to use in the war effort, hidden enemy locations, or artifacts that could yield advantage in the upcoming Clone Wars. And there actually is a hidden, interesting politique here between Palpatine and the Jedi High Council, unknowingly by either side. Palpatine was keen to use the group to get a better understanding of the unknown regions in the deep core, an interest that we would never see at all at any time in Legends. Meanwhile, the Jedi High Council were keen to use the group as a vehicle to learn more about the Sith through exploration of various Sith worlds, given the Sith now had a whole 1,000 years of missing history. The 415th had Alpha Arc Day as their commander, and due to the circumstances of her master dying, Mera Demetra was knighted early and made their Jedi General. Regardless, the 415th would bounce back and forth briefly between Palpatine and the Jedi's chess game, reaching such a point that they would just end up remaining on Coruscant out of sheer administrative tug-of-war, which would of course lead some members developing the habit of going off and getting into trouble, resulting in a chaotic incident where they got a new droid bartender. Eventually though, the Council would win out, and the 415th would be permanently shipped off to the Sith worlds, Korriban their first destination. But unluckily for all, something in the galaxy happened at the time. The rise of the resurgent Mandalore Empire. Mandalore is a planned video in the future. Hell, it's practically a mini-series. But all you need to know for now is that someone deposed Satine and took over as Mandalore, and they had full intentions of expanding territory. So off the Storm and off the 415th went, to Mandalore, where they were deployed to the moon of Concordia. Concordia was a two-pronged operation, with the goal of deleting Deathwatch bases, and doing a little tomfoolery and stealing literally all the Beskar. The 415th, along with Padawan Elessar, were charged with activating one of the relays that would get the planetary-wide mining going. But more importantly, Elessar was in possession of one very, very important artifact. Of course, due to shenanigans. And this was the Darksaber. The 415th activates the relay in the mine, but thanks to Deathwatch and their new CIS allies, a cave-in happens and catches the 415th within. Upon practically dragging themselves out, the group is ambushed. Storm and Zeta are way too overstretched for this job, and Elessar is left unprotected. The Darksaber is stolen by Cad Bane, who becomes the rightful owner, and let me tell you, this leads to a whole other saga that I won't go into now. But the galaxy moves on for now. Storm and his allies would shift to Korriban, and let me tell you, this is where things get dicey. The 415th, alongside the Gnolls on their own mission, were given an opening in the space engagement to head down onto the planet. They would, of course, encounter the CIS, and a particular Sith Lord I'm not going to talk about right now. Let me tell you, the odds are not in Storm's favour here. The 415th are forced into a Sith tomb, though Zeta Squad does blow the entrance and keep them safe within, though the three members bar Storm are now trapped on the outside. Though let me tell you, Zeta's sheer efforts in the chaos they cause for the CIS while everyone's within can't even be covered in a single video. Storm, with the 415th, are now trapped. Trapped in the tomb of Marka Ragnos. And let me tell you, this is one of those turning points that changed RP forever. The 415th are led further into the tomb by a spirit in the form of a child. Storm being the main driving force in holding off Shyrax and other beasts. The group are soon forced to fight two undead Sith acolytes, and Storm, alongside Mera, massively contributes to putting these two in the dirt. It does result in some casualties though, notably a clone named Jaws, who is then mysteriously revived. And the source of the revival is discovered. Ragnos reveals himself. He offers his holocron, because he's a Sith spirit, and of course he does. And the group goes nuts. Arguments break out, and Storm eventually gets through that any decision they make should be done after escape. So, with the assistance of Ragnos, the group does in fact escape, after coming under fire by the Gnolls, but that's a story for another time. The 415th would also acquire two HK droids, one broken on Korriban itself, named Blaze, and the other sent to them by an enigmatic ally, named HK-55. The holocron, ultimately, is somewhat forgotten about. Commander Day falls into a coma, which sends a lot of the 415th command structure into complete disarray. Which was, of course, exactly as Ragnos intended. He had gratitude for saving the 415th, and removed the main support structure in the form of Day. He held all of the cards. The 415th does stop briefly at Bos Thurda after this, though Storm and a lot of them are separated from the action of Mera fighting the local Sith of the week. This leaves one destination left in sight. Dromund Kaas. This planet is the center point of many key events to come. But this is the beginning. This is the first battle of Dromund Kaas. Exiting out of hyperspace, the Republic ships would instantly be set upon by operational Harrower-class dreadnoughts, ships from a bygone era. With a shield around their operating signal on the planet, Storm and the 415th are deployed to shut it off. The 415th touch down at the decrepit spaceport, and run into the local cultists. These are the Prophets of the Dark Side, a Sith splinter formed by Darth Millennial, roughly around the time of Darth Bane. This is exactly what the 415th had been looking for with their mission. So the group split up. Some go to apprehend the cultists, while some go to shut off the shield protecting the city, which contained this Harrower signal. But some of the cultists' words remained in the air. According to them, they had not been operating this revival of the planet, and that those in the city were unknown arrivals, even to them. With this in mind, Storm helps lead the group heading south to shut off the shield generator, which they eventually do, though it's not easy, but they are eventually diverted to help their allies, before they can even head to the city. The other group have been told of more pressing matters in the city by Ragnos after their brief business in the temple, but they would be intercepted by unknown walkers and the troops accompanying them. The reflection of white armor, the grip on E11s, walkers that looked like chickens. The 415th had run straight into the Galactic Empire. The 415th were outmatched and outgunned, but thankfully the arrival of Storm's group shifted the tide in their favour, and the forces were defeated. The ATSTs were hijacked. But all the while, hints of a Lord Vader on the other side did not bode well. A suggestion from Ragnos to blow up the city and cut whatever splinter in reality off at its source was given, and the 415th got moving. Okay, time out. You're probably thinking like, what the scallop, what's the Empire doing here? The Empire, and others who had been seen at the time, are part of a group of entities known as the Displaced, something that will be the topic of our next video. But for now, just take it in stride. Storm, and many of the 415th, noticing that some of the stormtroopers they dispatched were clones, elected to steal their armor and head on into the city disguised. A select few were chosen, while others were chosen as distractions for the Imperial forces. Storm and Zeta were, of course, among those to go into the city. Heading into the city was the easy part, and at its center, a strange golden tear could be seen, a scar on the skin of reality. Information acquired showed there was a reactor under the palace that powered the entire city, and more. If they could detonate that, they would be golden. With reports of a large triangular supercapital appearing above the planet, efforts needed to be quick. Mera and the two HK droids would head for the reactor. Storm and the rest would cause as much chaos as possible. They took to this task like a fish in the water. Storm's group would practically turn the city into a smacked hornet's nest, and one by one, they would fight. And they would fall, until only Storm remained, beset upon by Phase 2 Dark Troopers. And though the Commando would fool them with a classic trick, he would eventually be caught and gunned down. The world would go black for the Commando, and his life would end there. Or that would be the case, if reality on the planet hadn't been taken for an absolute ride. Mera and the two droids had been successful, and though chased by that dark figure we all know and love, the city would still be detonated, the three along with it. And yet, upon doing so, with everything fading white, that wasn't the case. Eyes of all opened outside the city that had just blown up. It was now standing there, empty as expected when they arrived on this planet. Quite frankly, anyone would have called it a dream. And yet footage from the fleet above, and the tangible memories that wouldn't fade, seemed to prove otherwise. Something had hit the reset button. And even to this day, people in the server don't know what happened. This reveal is actually planned pretty soon. Hopefully you watching will be there to see it when it does happen. And that's where we'll end Storm and the 415th's journey. The tale of the 415th really shaped early roleplay on the server, unlike anything else, so be sure to keep an eye out on the next one when it comes out. This video, of course, followed Storm, who was betrayed and was created by the user Ancient Storm on the server, who is also, funnily enough, part of the editing team for these videos. I think Storm is probably, one of the funniest people I know, genuinely, and the sheer amount of jokes and memes he's created is absolutely nuts. So huge shout out to him, lots of love, the whole shebang. So yeah, feel free to join the server if you're interested, and if an intended bi-weekly release isn't enough, so you can either take part or bully me for taking too long, which is fair enough. Links can be found attached to the channel and this video. And by the way, if you haven't already, please check out our previous entry on the Pride of the Core. It's a whole thing and it's our first one, and it was great. This video really did have a lot to unpack, and I mean, we just introduced the concept of the Displaced, which I know is a whole thing, and that's what the next video is for. It's going to be really good. It's a huge part of the roleplay, from Darth Vader to Satele Shan, all people have come and gone and really shaped this strange galaxy we cover in roleplay. So yeah, I hope to see you there. This is Sam, signing out. See you in the next video, and may the Force be with you.